The first time anyone saw her clawing at her own skin, trying to rip the dress away from her body, it became clear that this wasn't just rumor anymore. It wasn't gossip carried on hot wind through downtown. It was real. It was judgment. Her hands shook violently. Faint red marks appeared on the fabric, but the dress wouldn't come off. The crowd went silent. The dress had become something else, a trap, a punishment. It all started one Saturday morning. The market streets were alive with noise and color. Vendors shouted prices, taxis honked, music spilled from nearby shops. The smell of ripe fruit mixed with hot asphalt and fresh fabric. The sun pressed down on the zinc rooftops, making everything shimmer. That's when they arrived. Five girls, moving like they owned every step of the pavement. They didn't rush, they glided, always perfectly dressed, hair sleek, nails polished, outfits bold, sharp, and perfectly fitted. Their clothes changed every week, never the same, never wrinkled, never cheap. People called them glam divas. Young girls stared, boys stared. Older women watched with a mix of disapproval and envy. They floated through the market, laughing and smiling, drawing attention wherever they went. They never paid for anything though, and everyone noticed it. They were skilled. One distracted vendors with compliments. Another tried on clothes. A third knocked racks over by accident. The fourth blocked the vendor's view. The fifth disappeared briefly. In the confusion, things vanished. Blouses, scarves, dresses. Not enough to call the police, just enough to ruin a week's profit. Eventually, they hit the wrong store. Miss Elfreda's fabrics were heavier, richer. Some said she had learned sewing in West Africa. She wasn't just making clothes, she was weaving intent into them. The girls tried five dresses: crimson, emerald, gold, midnight blue, and white. They twirled, laughed, paused. Then a distraction pulled attention, and when heads turned back, the girls were gone. Five empty hangers swung in the breeze. Miss Elfrida didn't chase them. She opened a small wooden box under her table and closed it. That click traveled farther than any scream. The Glam Divas' arrogance stretched beyond the market. They targeted Sandra's beauty salon, just opened at the corner of a nearby street. Sandra had spent weeks preparing. She had the only high quality lace front wigs in the neighborhood, carefully chosen, expensive, delicate. The girls arrived as if the salon had been waiting for them. They chatted, laughed, posed in mirrors, demanding the best treatments. Sandra worked meticulously, adjusting each wig, styling every strand. When Sandra went to check the total bill, they were gone. Just like that. No payment, no apology, just vanished. Within a month, Sandra had to close her salon. She lost everything: money, supplies, time, trust. The neighborhood still whispers about a ruined business, though the girls moved on, untouchable. They weren't done. They charmed men next. At parties, on streets, in shops, they flashed smiles and hints of wealth, promising attention or favors. Men handed over money, gifts, even small investments. Some men offered cars, phones, or jewelry, thinking they were courting them or securing companionship. The girls took it all. Their targets were humiliated, reluctant to speak of it. The glam diva's charm was a weapon, invisible yet sharp. Some men were followed home, promised the night's company, and left with empty pockets and bruised pride. Others were tricked into giving money for an opportunity or an event they couldn't miss. The girls disappeared before the men realized the trap. Each scheme left ripples of whispers and warnings, yet the girls were never caught, never scolded, never blamed directly, except by fate itself. Meanwhile, the dresses stayed. The incident with Miss Elfreda was no joke. Those dresses were traps for pride, consequences that couldn't be washed or burned away. The girls believed they were untouchable, but every step they took reminded them of Miss Elfreda, the vendors, and Sandra's closed salon. The fabric grew warmer in the sun, tighter in the evenings. Sleep became shallow. Mirrors became enemies. They stopped going out at night, afraid of being seen struggling with invisible seams that no one else could understand. When the girls could no longer bear the fact that the dresses could not come off, they went for help. Pastors prayed over the girls. Doctors applied creams and salves. Spiritual men refused to approach. The dresses didn't budge, didn't stain, didn't age. They tightened. At night, neighbors said they could hear soft pulling sounds, like threads stretching. 3 days later, the first scream came. People gathered. Phones filmed. Prayers were whispered. The leader stood in her emerald dress, perfect as ever, but she wasn't. Her hands red and swollen. The zipper wouldn't move. Scissors bent. The dress clung like a second skin. Soon the others were found. Dresses flawless, girls broken, red marks, sleeves tightening. No bathing, bleach, or fire helped. That same day they returned to the market, heads held lower, posture stiff, slower, smaller, pride gone, dresses still shining. The market went quiet. Miss Elfreda stood behind her stall, calm, no yelling, no chasing, just presence. She reached under the table and handed each girl a cowrie shell tied with red thread. Something shifted in the air, something heavy, unspoken. Over the following weeks, the girls worked. Early mornings, sweeping, folding, helping elderly vendors, returning stolen money, apologizing publicly, learning to sew, learning to measure and cut properly. The dresses still clung to them. They could not hide, they could not escape. Blisters formed on soft palms. Sun darkened carefully protected skin. For the first time, admiration did not come from appearance, but from effort. Children pointed, teenagers whispered, some laughed, some pitied. Slowly, effort replaced arrogance, sweat replaced vanity, responsibility replaced recklessness. They learned the cost behind beauty, the value of labor, the meaning of earning trust and admiration. 1 month after the theft, the dresses loosened. The emerald dress fell first. The zipper slid down. The other dresses followed, one by one. No flash, no thunder, just fabric returning to ordinary cloth. 5 girls stood humbled, tears streaming freely. That night, the dresses were burned, not in anger, in release. They never stole again. They apprenticed under Miss Elfreda. Their hands grew calloused. Their backs ached honestly. They still dressed beautifully, but now their beauty carried weight, and weight. When customers complimented their outfits, they smiled differently, knowing every stitch had passed through disciplined fingers. The Glam Divas became a story told across town, a warning, a lesson, a memory stitched into the streets. Even the men they conned, the vendors they ruined, and the salon owners they humiliated remembered them, not for glamour, but for the price of arrogance and pride. And sometimes, when the sun hits the market just right, people swear they can see where the dresses once gleamed, not with magic, with memory. Because stories in this market don't disappear, they're stitched into the streets. And now, when new girls walk through with eyes full of easy dreams, someone always tells them the story, not loudly, not cruelly, but clearly, about 5 dresses, about tightening seams, about the difference between shine and substance. Because in that market, beauty is still admired, but respect is earned. If this story taught you something about effort, pride, and respect, share it and subscribe so others can learn that every beautiful thing carries work and sweat behind it.